well, I met with them last week. I met with them earlier this week. We've continued to have our mobility hub meetings on Friday with a large number of folks. Ohio. Was playing it back. And those folks, the mobility hub part of that, I had to have further discussion with tech because let's back up. The technology part of that we have contracted for is progressing and is almost finished, and it's at the point where it needs to be tested. And they have reached out to Licking County Transit to do a test on this is the complete technology that you'll be able to plan your trip and all of that,
like the app,
and like the app, and that is progressing nicely, and they are at the testing stage. And that was done by Etch and under a contract that was from, I think it was some county money and some of ours, but we administered the contract. LCATS may have given us the funds for that. So it's at the point that New Jersey Transit has to get involved, and they were going to reach out to them if there were issues. They were supposed to get back and let me know so I could pick up the phone and see what we can do to help move that forward. It was in the testing.
Licking County Transit.
Yeah, for Licking County.
Jersey, but
I probably did. Former life is coming back into play, and I get tired.
I didn't think New Jersey had anything to do with it, but that's
because I was doing something online this morning, and I was looking back at some old New Jersey things. That's why New Jersey slipped in there. So anyhow, the mobility hub, the first discussions are progressing, and the plan. We weren't successful, as you know, we weren't successful in getting the federal money first round anyway. We're going after more. We're still committed to the project. I think those towns and cities that were included are still committed and would like to do it. I think with the Intel announcement and the other ancillary companies that are coming, it becomes even more important. And hopefully we can get some resources out of all of that, whether state or federal, to help move this project along. So the next stage, one of the stages is, and by the way, there was the mobility hub part, and then there was the innovation center, which was to take the Tech's former, which will become their former factory because they're building a new one, and use that land and buildings for the innovation hub. That part of it. They're two separate things, really. And Tech has asked to step back on the use of the innovation center part of their property. They just wanted, in light of Intel, think it through.
okay.
You know, because there may be somebody wants to come and just buy that whole thing and use it. Which sort of, we have to sort of keep it separate. The hub part and their property is still available, and we will, we have to make a decision shortly in conjunction with them about how they will transfer ownership of that land, or at least control. I'm not sure what the key buzzword is, because we can't get federal money until we control the site. And that's the next step, is the control of that actual site. And that means that either a long-term, I'm not sure if it would cover a lease, a lease purchase, a lease, just outright gift to the city. I'm not sure how we're going to come down on that, but that's yet to be discussed.
So the Tech does not want to own it.
So they can't.
They cannot?
They cannot own it because of the feds can't give them money. They can give us money, and for the hub project, and they can't give it to them. So they have to give it to us. So we have to control the site. Now, what does control mean? I'm not, I have to get some legal advice on that. But That's where we are. And Dan and I will continue those discussions, and I'll share it with council shortly.
Okay.
I've met with them on their marketing team that they use for development stuff and for web services and marketing, outreach, social media, etc. I didn't make any commitments, but it was very helpful. And I'm thinking I will come back at a later council meeting to have those folks make a presentation on what they can do for us, because we need their help. We don't have our website's lousy. I'm just gonna say it. Our website's lousy. Our economic development section is awful.
It's worse than lousy.
It's worse. And we need help in this whole social media area, and we don't have the luxury of time. We have to play catch up, and we have to get something out and up and somewhere for these folks that are contacting and everybody and their cousin, for them to contact, say, here's for more information, contact XYZ.
Mhm.
And we don't have that at the moment. We have to get that out there. But I will come back to this body and to council for approval of the suggestion,
Okay.
and that you guys can talk to them, and I'll bring them in.
Maybe they could bring a sample too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
how it would look
Yeah,
like.
I did.
I mean, just,
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
give us an example, and we had a lengthy discussion with them. I don't know what day, Monday, Tuesday, I can't. This week's a blur. So that's where the mobility hub folks did not meet today because none of us were available. So the next Friday is the next meeting of the mobility hub group. There's some catch up to do on that and to reach out to our partners. We have not done a good job keeping all of the various mayors for all our partners up to date, and we have to catch up on that. And we're going to do that. I'm coming to council on Tuesday night, first at finance and then to council with a proposal to hire a government affairs firm to give us help in the state budget and also on the federal grants, etc. It's too much for us as council members to do. And I'm going to propose a firm to do that. They're highly recommended. I've met with them. They're great. They're going to be here Tuesday night to have a conversation
they'll
with
be here?
finance.
Okay.
And hopefully we can move ahead with them. I think that'll help us immensely in getting our ducks in a row as far as the state budget and federal grants. I understand our request for Senator Brown is still active, even though last year's request was not acted on. The Senate took no action. So it's sitting there. The $9 million that we asked Senator Brown for, as far as his earmark.
Oh,
And as I understand it, it's still active under consideration by the Senate, because they took no action on last year's budget earmarks. So that's still alive. I don't know. Does that? We
yeah.
really didn't get into road. I haven't gotten into roadway improvements with
Okay.
them. I look at that as
Jack's probably more up to date on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's been paying attention to some of that, and especially the roundabout going at the new factory site. And I don't know where that stands at the moment. I did go to my first LCATS meeting, board meeting, and it was interesting. And then I met with LCATS and the TID group just so they could introduce me to what they're up to.
Mhm.
It's fast becoming out of date, and they're going to need to re-look at a lot of those things that they had talked about over the years. That this it's a whole new ballgame. It's the reality. We have to,
Yeah,
we're taking, as I told somebody the other day, I said, we're taking 20 years and gonna compress it to 20 months.
mhm,
And that's what we're facing as a community, as a municipality, as a school system.
mhm.
We got to do some fast things, and I have a lot of faith in the future, and I'm optimistic. It's how I have a community that I realize is in high anxiety mode. And it's becoming, they were already stressed out from COVID. They were already stressed out with Johnny and Susie and keeping them in the classroom and all of that. And now, and their jobs. And then you add this on top of it. I mean, we had a situation where we had a fight in the nail salon. Now, luckily it was verbal. It did not get to fisticuffs. I understand it. But when your citizens are having fights at the nail salon about this stuff, you know you got a problem. And the best thing I can do, I figure the best thing I can do is find some answers, some basic questions and share it with them.
Mhm.
And that will lower the anxiety level. At least they know somebody's paying attention to it. And unfortunately, it's becoming a full-time job. So anyhow, I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does.
That's sort of
It does.
what's going on out there. I have explained to them that the project is still a priority for us,
Mhm.
even though this shiny new thing landed on our yard. You're still our priority to get this mobility hub, and I stress to them I think it's more important than ever.
Right, right. I agree.
That's where we are.
Okay, and then you sort of took care of number 5 with the mobility hub.
Yeah, I
in both
sort of
places.
skipped ahead with.
Number 4, update on enterprise center and infrastructure. We have not, there's been rumors that our company that we spent so much time with, New River, may or may not be coming down, but we don't have clarification yet. Jack is our interim city manager. Unfortunately, his father passed away, so he's at the funeral today. But Chip and I decided that he was the best person to reach out to them. And I think he has, but it hasn't heard back.
Right.
So
And he's been out for a couple of days.
Yeah, so we're waiting to know what's going on with that.
And I understand the issue for New River, as far what I was told anyway, was the cost of their building has escalated dramatically.
Mhm.
And it was how they do that now. And I'm not sure where that is. I had a call with Rick Platt about another issue. And I just flat out asked him, and he hemmed and hawed and said, I can't really give you a straight answer at the moment. And he said, you can read between the lines. I said, okay, it's because they're upset about the cost of their building. That's what I know. But he said the good part is, if you want to focus on the good news, there have been numerous, and you may know this, you guys know this probably more than me, is that he has had numerous companies reaching out about that property. And if New River says it's not for them, there'll be somebody standing in line to try to get it. So,
Okay.
There's a property next door, right? Still, even if New River
yeah, we have
stays.
2 other parcels that are already, the roadways in, the water and sewer are there. So that those 3 parcels.
Maybe across the street would be willing.
And
to
then
allow
across the
too.
street is a
Yes.
future issue.
That would
so.
need to be rezoned. at
It's
this
already
time.
within the
Yeah.
city
It's
limits.
within the
but-
city, just would have to be
Have to
rezoned.
be rezoned.
And I know Jack has worked on the water lines in that area where it would
Right.
be easy to just cross right over at this
Yeah,
point.
we're already on one side of the road,
Mhm.
so it's
Yeah.
becomes
Or
easier.
are we thinking, are we able to buy the Port Authority out?
Not, I don't think
I
so.
think,
That way we can control it ourselves? Is that I don't know, is it a
I'm
possibility?
not sure that's
Is
a
it even
viable
possibility?
option,
Yeah.
but because our agreement with them is
What's
that
that?
The CIC would need to do it. if it
once the
could.
land is sold, like if New River was buying their
Mhm.
property from the Port Authority, then the Port Authority in our agreement gives us a sizable amount of money. and for our infrastructure and for our costs and whatever. cover
But they would
those.
take part of that money too, back to the Port Authority.
Oh,
right?
yeah. They'll.
That's what I'm saying. I was just thinking about that the other day when I was driving back and forth to work. I'm like,
Sure.
we're in with Port Authority. If we could somehow buy their interest out of that,
We may have to pay a lot more now.
we may. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
But I
don't
look
know
at-
either, Cheryl.
I look at them as.
Is it a possibility to
as
look at it?
As a partner.
Is
And-
New River
and
using the
we-
potential
I don't-
financing?
Feel that they're a competitor.
Mm-mm.
New River, are they using the pass-through financing through the port?
I think so. And I think that was part of their discussion, and I'm not sure where that ended up. And I know we saw a design for the building, preliminary, didn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah, we did. It came.
And it was
Came and got a
great.
COA.
And,
Yeah.
and supposedly the redo or the recalculation of that is what they had an issue with.
Yeah, I think the price of materials has just skyrocketed.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
that's way life is these days.
Yeah, but I think I'm in agreement with you guys that I don't know that I'm too concerned if New River doesn't come. Somebody will jump on that land because of the proximity, the intel.
Right,
That's,
It's across the street. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's gonna be a very marketable piece of.
Oh, yeah,
The reality.
absolutely. And that was my thought too, just what you're saying is if we could, take control of that ourselves as a city, not have the Port Authority to worry about, what. But you're right, Cheryl, they're probably looking at the gains that they're gonna make too,
Right.
which is, it's just business. I get it.
Well, if they're using the potential financing, they get a 1% fee. That
Yeah.
part of it goes to the TID, part of it comes back to me for infrastructure, that kind of stuff. So,
So
and yes, part of it goes to the port, but that's.
running the port, but I mean, I look at them not as a competitor, but
Okay,
as a partner.
it's just a
I know.
thought that was running through my mind, that's all.
Sure.
When we're talking about that, let's see. Okay,
So,
when New River closes, because this is in the notes here,
okay,
which is now maybe in March, 200,000 proceeds comes back to Johnstown
Right.
upon closing. And then 30 days after execution, the contract will receive 50,000. So that's,
those were the terms.
that was the terms that we made with them.
If they back out, then we don't.
No, we don't get that. They
We'll
back
have
out.
to make a deal with somebody else. But that's
So-
okay.
But I think we use that as a baseline,
Mhm.
and I don't think we go below it,
Oh, God, no.
not now.
Mm-mm, Not now.
Not with what's going on. So anyhow, so
Yeah.
that's what I.
So
know
that's,
about that.
that's all we know since we have some updates.
And I don't know, Jack would know, I don't know the status of the widening of Duncan Plains. There was money lined up from the state, from LCATS, from whoever else, we had a piece of that, to widen Duncan Plains from 62 to the
Entrance of the.
entrance of the
Enterprise.
Enterprise Center.
Mhm.
Of
An extra like.
course,
turn lane.
now with what's going on with the state and Intel and New Albany and everybody else on, I mean, that and their plan for the superhighway. I'm not sure where Duncan Plains fits into that, but there's gonna have to be a light or interchange or traffic cloverleaf or something out there.
Roundabout or something, yeah.
Something, I don't know what their plan is. And I just hope that Monday, that when they start talking about, mink, that they realize that roads have two ends. And they're not only focused on 161 and mink, but they're gonna talk about where it joins the city of Johnstown. And, because we can't have that going from 6 lanes to 2 lanes to then become a traffic light at 37. I mean, our lives would be miserable.
I know.
And,
10,000 backup.
It will be.
it would be incredible.
Yeah.
So how they, I hope, I pray that those people who live in that world of engineers and highway construction and planning have given some thought to that. And I will wait till Monday, and I'm prepared to stand on my virtual soapbox and say, hey, wait a minute, what about the other end of this road?
Right.
When Chip and I met with the New Albany company, they brought up the fact that they said, your intersection of 62 and 37 is really bad.
Tell us about it.
Okay.
We know,
Thanks for coming into town one time.
We
We appreciate that.
They come here. a
we
lot.
know that, so.
Yeah, but you only need to come
Can you-
once to
can you
understand how
help
bad
us?
it is.
So maybe if we complain enough
Yeah.
and say this is going to interrupt the construction
We-
workers and the workers for Intel, maybe the state might listen to us.
Yeah, I hope. In my LCAT's little powwow with them in TID, they had done a study for us, a traffic study for us. And basically and their conclusion is the reason you have a backup now is the trucks are unable to make a turn from 62 and 37, and that completely upsets the flow.
It does.
Well, tell me something I didn't
I know.
already know. So
What you get from engineers, they tell you.
yeah,
Tell you what you
I
already
just,
know.
I
Yeah,
just
but
said,
more
oh, that's
technical.
nice, that's nice. And I have this crazy idea, and I will share it with all of you, but not for attribution. It was funny, I had a property owner come to me and in passing, talk about an idea. I said, well, that's interesting. That if you took both gas stations out, is there room for a roundabout there, a major roundabout?
It would have to be very large. for
It
the
would have to be pretty big or
Oh, I know.
or something.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer. I don't live in that
I
world.
would think you would have to take more than those two gas stations out.
I mean, there's a sizable amount of property there. But I'm not sure whether it would fit. That's my problem. And that's why I told Bailey, you slow down this thinking about the
dog.
store.
Yeah, whatever they call it, but.
Yeah.
The
Bell store.
It's got a picture of the dog.
I mean, they want to build a new store, et cetera. And we're gonna have the state seize it. I don't want to have them seize a new building. But it was the property owner wasn't opposed. He said, that's interesting. And I'm not sure, I guess the bottom line, and I have asked one of the city's contracted engineers to take a look at it and just measure it out and say, in the best of all worlds, would a roundabout fit there?
Mhm.
I'm not sure it does. But before I get out on that limb, I want to know that I'm
Right.
not talking funny business here and that there's some reality to it. Because right now, if we have 19,000 or whatever the last count was, cars that are transiting the village, and I'm not sure that was both roads or just one,
Just
or
62.
that was just 62. And if you figure Intel, let's just say it doubles. How do we deal with that? We're gonna have citizens that can't get from one side of town to the other. They can't get Johnny and Susie to school every morning because that's unbelievable.
Yeah. that's bad already.
We built schools on either end of our town. So that meant you have to transit across. And then we don't offer anything and nobody wants to walk. They all want to be picked up or carpool, some mothers, fathers driving them to school. Which adds to the congestion. How we deal with all that, I don't know. But we're gonna have to be thinking about it, and it goes and then you add to that, that's in the middle of town. On the outskirts of town, where all of our roads hook into whatever expanded roadways New Albany's planning to build as part of Intel. I don't know how all that works right now. It's a lot of moving parts.
Mhm.
I learned
So-
this, a realtor developer the apartment developer, is looking at buying land. Okay, and you guys hold on to the table. In Utica.
Mhm.
And build apartments in Utica
How are you about
for like the construction workers who's going to have to come and live here for a period of time. And if that happens, they will be coming down Road 62.
Mhm.
But that is all, I mean, they've already talked to Utica and talked about getting water and sewer in for these apartments.
Hmm.
So,
I had someone reach out to me and it wasn't the interested individual, but somebody that was trying to make a connection. That somewhere here in Johnstown, they were looking at purchasing property for housing of some kind. And I had that connection. I said, yes, I'm willing to talk to them, to start the conversation, but I haven't, that connection's not been made yet on the other end. So,
But is that realistic though? I'm just gonna, I mean, for you guys who don't know me, these guys all know me. I kind of play devil's advocate and try to look at not only the good, but the bad, right? So I've worked in that industry before. And I've been with the city of Columbus for 27 years, but in the construction industry, a lot of these people who will get these construction contracts to build this I would assume, are close to Central Ohio, I would hope. Which means most of their workforce already lives close to Central Ohio. I don't see a need where you're going to be bringing masses amount of construction workers from out of state and relocating them into an apartment in Utica. They're already going to be living. And when I say close, I mean, now close to work is anywhere up to an hour. So if you draw that circle out to an hour, I mean, you're in Marion. I mean, you're down to Lancaster.
Well,
I mean, that's a pretty big area if you think about that for guys to drive in. I just don't see, I don't see it. I don't see where the need is going to be for housing for guys that are coming to work in Intel. I think they're already going to be established in Central Ohio.
well, I'd move that
Am I
out.
missing something?
Yeah, the people who did part of the construction for the nursing home,
Okay.
they lived in Cleveland. Because he had to come back, he had to drop back here one night because of some water problems, and he did. But he had driven all the way back home to Cleveland and drove back down here. And I know people that are in the construction industry that live down along the Ohio River and drive up to Central Ohio every day.
Right.
I said, God, 2.5 hours each way. Yeah, that's what we do.
yeah.
So-
But they do that, but you don't hear them complain about
No,
that
they don't.
because they're just accustomed to that. That's where they want to live. And they know that's where their work is. I don't know that I see that big of a need for that. And maybe I'm just walking around with blinders on, but
But the
So there will
numbers,
be a little bit of a need for that. An example of that was when the Middletown Energy Center was built in Middletown when I was there. We had campgrounds for 30 miles completely filled up because they'll bring their campers and live at the campground, and because there's not enough hotel rooms to keep all the workers housed, and there's not enough housing in
our hotels
apartments.
won't house everybody.
our 3 rooms.
So there will be a combination of things will cause a little bit of a draw from outside of that 1 hour, even 2 hour circle. And that is the unemployment rate. Other projects of similar magnitude, like the $1 billion Google expansion happening at the same time. There's still stuff going on at the Facebook site in New Albany. There's a lot of big
Construction
Big
projects
construction
right here.
already
The
happening.
work.
I guess it'd be nice for me, to know how many workers at those two sites, Facebook and Google, and Amazon, wherever Amazon's going to pop up buildings, how many workers do they have that come in that far that would rather have housing closer? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Amgen's already started.
So if it was just the Intel project, I would say, yeah, maybe. But there's still might be a need for
And
outside.
there are all these ancillary companies
Right.
that we keep
That's
hearing
true.
about. And
But it's a very active market to begin with, before the Intel project even gets
Mhm.
inserted into it. as far as building goes, with spec buildings, with.
Are those numbers, I mean, I'm just gonna ask, sometimes I just ask questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
Have those numbers ever been tracked? I mean, has anybody ever tracked that number, like a hard number? If you have 400 workers down here at Google, how many of those would really want to have close housing? Is it 50? Is it 60? Is it 200? Is it 20?
Now I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer.
Those are the kind of numbers that I would like to see to really see what our impact is going to be. Because we're saying 10,000 construction jobs
Mhm.
and it's,
Yeah.
10%, that's 1,000 people looking for, if it's 20%, but what if it's 2%?
Yeah,
Still 200 people. I mean,
I was concerned about,
that's the numbers for me.
are all these, if you have 7,000 construction jobs there, are they all leaving the site to get lunch?
No.
We'll have,
they'll
and I
probably
was
have-
told,
I did hear
no,
they were- I
that
would-
the
Food trucks pull in or.
food trucks and in New Orleans, and I don't know if it's the Amgen site or Facebook or whoever over there, that they bring food to them. They tell them, don't leave the property once you arrive until you're into your shift. So they cut down the
Back and forth,
traffic.
yeah.
Back and
Probably
forth.
dirt too.
Mhm.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. that's right.
And then the one traffic issue that you brought up, Chip, that I've been thinking about because Amy and I live in Leafy Dell and we see it every day at the elementary school. And this is one thing we may have to mend with the school district is they may need to reinstitute busing. I mean, you're talking 600 kids in that elementary, so you have 600 cars that run through there.
They should have
Plus-
reinstituted busing.
Yeah.
Already.
Bailey, I
That's
totally
just-
agree with that. But
That's how I may.
But now, now that we have a legitimate concern about traffic, so now you can put, I don't know, is it 50 students on a bus?
Right.
I don't know, is it 40 or
I don't
50?
know.
Okay,
wow.
so, you have one bus, I get it, it's a bigger vehicle, but you eliminated 50 cars.
Mhm.
And,
I don't know whether any.
I think they're gonna have to
I don't
be,
think they've thought that out.
they haven't thought of, and they may
They
not
haven't
have,
had to.
Chip,
Well,
but
we
that's
have a school
something.
liaison meeting coming up.
We do,
Oh, I
yeah,
know.
we do. And that's one of those things that we really need to,
You talk about,
talk, yeah, we need to talk about
is
that.
it on there?
Because it's gonna impact their school, just like it's gonna impact everybody else, because
Yeah.
you're gonna have kids now struggling to get in there by 9:15, 9:20 because traffic is so bad, it couldn't get through town.
Get
blah,
through
blah.
town, it's all backed up.
It would probably be safer to get those kids on a bus.
Yeah.
That.
I agree, because it's a bigger vehicle and it's yellow, and
Yeah.
everybody knows what happens with a school bus. You just give it distance and let it do its
You're
thing.
getting a feel for what we're struggling.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot, there's,
And
yeah,
we
you can
are
sit down and just
struggling.
think about it, and your head just starts pounding, you're like.
It does.
Yeah,
It-
it's
it
like,
does.
I told somebody you want to buy a drink. And I'm trying not to.
I got a quart of something for you, I'm gonna bring over
Yeah, but
tonight.
it's,
I hear me.
and our citizenry by and large haven't, they don't like the traffic we have now.
Oh, yeah, they hate it.
I always, come up and say, well, I lived in New Jersey for 17 years, tell me
Yeah,
about
it's
traffic.
bad traffic.
This is not in the same
Mhm.
hemisphere as that.
It's worse than what it used to be. And so people that's lived here for years, are upset. The new people that are moving in, they're just sort of
It's gonna be
accustomed
like
to it.
Fair Week all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But how do we mitigate that? That's.
I don't know the answer to that.
Mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I was just.
Mobility,
gonna say
huh?
that.
We have
Fly
little
people
buses
out of
running
here on our,
around.
in the Verta part.
Pick up
those
your,
people
pick up
to
your
drive
plane, your
Yeah,
VTOL aircrafts going in and out.
and also, Chip, if they redesign the highway or bypass, which I've heard they're talking about, however they go,
Okay.
then we can actually look at things
Since
from a
you
different
used-
perspective,
You use the B word.
the bypass.
I was shown this nice drawing with 3 bypasses,
Mhm.
3 sections. And I've been told since that meet that I was shown that comes from something that they talked about 15 years ago. They drug it back up. I looked at the guys and I said, by the time you get all the properties you need, by the time you find the resources to build this thing, by the time you build it, I won't be around. But I will assure you, I will haunt you from out at being at Green Hill Cemetery. And I've got a stupid idea. You don't have time to do that. You've got to come up with some other ideas quickly, because building all that, assembling the land, and then constructing it, we don't have time for that.
It would be like the 161 build out
Again,
all over again.
and yeah, it doesn't make any
There's
sense.
gonna be a big white side of the barn that says.
Yeah.
Right.
Your
I was
ODOT.
gonna say,
Yeah, ODOT,
take
yes.
a number. And if that's your answer, that's not an answer to me.
Yeah.
That's like, you didn't think out of the box. We don't have time to do that. Think out of the box.
Yeah.
Save us from ourselves.
Mhm.
And I just hope they are thinking of those things.
Talking about that house
Anyhow.
that says ODOT,
Mhm.
the family who owned that house, it happened to them again
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no.
with this Intel project.
Oh, my God.
Happened to them again.
That's
Oh,
horrible.
my gosh. Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they got,
Mhm.
so they're
Hopefully you
being
got-
bought out, or the.
This is how
Hopefully the new Albany come to us.
this
a
is how
little more.
volatile the
Hope
market
they added-
is.
hope they added another.
I got a friend of mine, he and his wife have a house on Miller. They closed,
Yeah.
bought 43 acres over on Sadie Thomas with the sale of that house.
Okay.
Have not closed on that property yet, but it's in contract. The
Mhm.
contracts are signed. Got approached by another buyer that wants to give them $300,000 cash to walk away from their deal so they could buy it.
Wow.
It's wild,
It
This is
yeah, it's
craziness.
Crazy right
It's
now.
absolute
I don't know who
pandemonium.
this Texas-
People are
some
going crazy.
Texas guy I heard about last night,
Uh,
who is,
Let's talk about that. Let's go through this. The details of the Texas guy.
yeah,
Okay.
I was like, who is this guy?
I'm going to move to 7, and we'll go back to
Mhm.
6. The 2015 Economic Development Commission Plan. After I reviewed it and I gave this to Chip and to Doug, my recommendation would be to remove it from the website.
Can take it down.
Yes.
Okay,
You guys have
It's
a
so out
problem
of
with
date,
that?
it's so out of date, we gotta get it.
yeah, I
We
agree.
need to do one.
Yeah. And, you know, it looks out of date. It is out of date. Okay, so now we'll go back to land available for possible economic development purposes. And Bailey, this is where I need you to pull. Can you pull up the map or
What map would you like?
a map
The
around Johnstown?
County map or?
Like around the Enterprise Center, yeah, from the auditor's side. And
No,
Bailey, do you?
I've had, that was good cooking.
Wow.
Anyhow, the section that he's talking about, Levy Dell,
Mhm.
if you're not familiar, that's the round circle.
Mm.
where
On the
school
north side of
is.
town by
And the
Kroger Road.
school's in the middle of that.
Mm.
So the next time somebody suggests putting a school in the middle of a housing
No,
development,
don't do it.
tell them it's not a good.
However, there is some land behind the school that's still the school land that they could
Oh,
actually
they can
add on and
add on.
almost double that school building. if they-
Really?
Absolutely, yeah, that's just, all that is a retention pond right now, so all you'd have to do is
Put it,
get rid of
bury
the,
it, and
That's right.
build on top of it.
and you could actually go,
And
I
probably
guess it'd be-
something to do with your stormwater.
you would, yeah, I get it. I mean, that's a big one, Bailey, it is.
No, but you could.
But it could be, I mean, it can be
put it
done.
Below. and
Yeah.
Build on top.
Yep, it can be done.
A lot of the
Anyhow.
ISD's high schools are built in neighborhoods and suffer from the ability to expand or create
Right.
sports fields and things like that.
Landlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they did a really nice job right back here with ours because we can actually stair step and go down and keep going
Mhm.
to the south, right?
It's
Just keep
very
going
nice.
down and down. So we have the ability to expand.
Mhm.
Right.
It's just the state doesn't look at the expansion. They just look at the now numbers.
Well, hopefully you take that big check we're getting from Intel.
Do
Use that.
do you and the school district have a cooperative agreement with incentives or anything like that in place?
It's one of those we need to mend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
And
to-
actually, we do need to have something
Play
that,
nice.
to work together. Sometimes we don't always see eye to eye, and unfortunately, it hasn't been always the positive, and we want to move it in a better direction.
That's right.
So,
That's fair. That's a very fair statement.
mhm. Yeah,
Would they be interested in, you think, putting together an agreement where the city of Johnstown and the school district could rely upon something consistent as far as when it comes to negotiating incentives or things like that with the school district instead of doing it project by project?
I think we both would,
I think we could.
because I think the
move
New
to that.
River thing kind of brought that to light.
It
I
sure
thought
did.
that everything came to the top of the surface. And I think this, and correct me if I'm wrong, talking for the council side of it, because we had a lot of discussion on that in here. I mean, I'm one that I would love to have a standardized agreement like that. It makes business easier for everybody. That way the school doesn't point fingers at us and we don't point fingers at them, and
Right.
it gets all nasty and we want to work together.
That's what happened.
Yeah, because I'm still, I mean, these guys have heard me say it before. The city and the school need to work together, or you may as well forget about growth. I mean, that's it. You may as well just, you go your way, we'll go our way. But I don't think that's what we want.
A lot of times, some communities will have an agreement specifically for just business expansion efforts and leave housing development out of it because it so greatly affects the school district, and that needs to be looked at on a case
Could
by
you not do
case
two?
basis.
Could you not do two agreements? One for the business side and one for the residential side?
I mean, you could, yeah. I've never seen that done. The school districts I've worked with in the past have always wanted to keep that separate. When I was in Middletown, but the agreement that we established in Middletown between the city and the Middletown City School District basically covered enterprise zone, CRAs, and TIFs. And it said that we could go up to a certain percentage and year in the agreement without going to school board for approval, and that they waived their notice requirements and their approval requirements at school board, and that they would get a certain percentage of what they would have received had that project not happened.
Mhm.
So they would still get that base tax rate and then a certain percentage of what they would have received if the tax abatement had not been in place. So that would be more than what they would receive if nothing was in place.
Mhm.
So
And it may be more well received
Yeah.
from you two. I'm not trying to add to your plate, but it may be more well received from a neutral party like you guys from Licking County than it would be if we propose that to the school district or they came back with something with us. If you have a neutral party that says, hey, we've seen this work really well. Here's an example of Middletown.
Guys, think about
You
it.
know, yeah. We know where the city is. What do you guys think about it? I don't know. Maybe you guys think about that, and if you'd be willing to come back, don't you think, Cheryl? I think it'd
Yeah.
be better from an outside party to say,
would
hey, we
receive
really
it
want to
better.
see everybody grow together in this thing because you guys are now we're all in the same boat, basically. And how do we, right?
Yeah, we are.
We are. And how do we grow well together so we don't step on each other's toes, and they're not infringing on us, we're not infringing on them, but we agree with each other that this is, and some of that agreement is agree to disagree on some things. That's
Right.
part of the business deal. That's just how it is.
I see where, Mark Frazier's working on House Bill 123, where that would change some of the amount from 50% to 25% to the schools. And that's progressing. Have you heard any other follow-up on that?
I've not heard an update from him on that
Okay.
recently.
All right,
I haven't seen it come across it.
I haven't
An
either.
update on that.
So, okay, all right, Bailey,
Land.
you're up.
Oh, my.
I'm up.
You're up. So tell us what we're looking at.
This is the property where the Enterprise Center is right now, and we have Enterprise Drive, which has been already put in.
Right.
And then this is the property, these two properties are where New River was going to locate. So even if New River still locates there, we would still have this property available, and
How many acres? I can't read it from here. I
this
can't see it.
property is 13.9 acres, so almost 14 acres.
Okay, and that is the Duncan Plains LLC that I told you about, Alexis.
Yeah.
That's Jim Heimero and Phil Watts. What's his name?
Bill Watts.
Phil Watts, yeah.
It was Granville Mill.
This property too is Duncan Plains Limited. Our new water tower is gonna be here, but this property is 10.8 acres, 11 acres. So these two properties are available. But keep in mind that the Marathon gas line runs right through these properties.
Mhm.
And then this property across the street is currently zoned SR1, but it's available and it has already been thought about to be an expansion of the
Yes.
enterprise center.
How many acres is that?
That is 51 acres.
And
Oh, I
if
see
you
it.
scroll down a little farther. No, on the map, you can pull it down.
You'll see where the Intel site
You'll
is.
see how close it is. I mean, it's at the corner of Green Chapel
Right.
and Mink.
Mhm.
So it's like right there.
Yeah.
There's Mink.
So it's gonna
There's
be
Green Chapel.
here.
It's right there. So that shows you how close
Yeah.
our site is to there.
Or
The
here.
farm parcels between there going
Which
going
direction?
west
Mhm.
and south from where she's currently highlighted with the yellow.
Mhm.
Yeah. I understand those two parcels, right, whichever
Then it join
direction.
the yellow.
Yeah, oh, the right
Neck
below the
below,
yellow.
Yeah,
the
right
two
there,
below
Bailey.
those,
Yeah.
those are the digs.
Yeah,
I
those are
understand
digs.
they're under contract
Where the New
With-
Albany,
with New Albany.
really?
Are you
Uh,
serious?
I understand that, well, all of those
World?
little pieces that are by, Mink and,
Duncan Plains.
Duncan, no,
I
Green
got it.
Chapel.
I can't see it.
Those have all
Do you
been
want-
purchased too, and they have their exit date, had to be out by August 1st.
Is this the Intel site right here?
It's below. I thought it wasn't.
It's right,
No, it's right now,
it's right
It's
in
right
here,
here.
no, on the other side of the
Mink.
road.
in Green Chapel.
This
The
is
Macon
direction.
Green Chapel
Huh?
is right here.
It's not on
this-
the right-hand side of me.
No, it's on the left-hand side of
Right
That's
that.
what she's saying.
Yeah, all
Right
of
there.
those,
Yeah, right
all of
here.
those properties have already been
Okay.
purchased.
The-
And that's Intel right there.
And New
And then
Albany
it-
goes all the way over and then down like.
No,
It goes down
can't go-
62 down to beach.
62 down to beach.
no,
And
no,
That's
it-
exactly what they just
they
annexed.
have not the corner.
that's where they're annexing.
No, but Rusty's farm is Dad's farm on the corner of, when you go Green Chapel to 62,
Yep,
it's on the corner.
right there where your
That
finger
big,
is.
right there where he's building his new
Yeah,
house.
it's
They-
outlined
they
around
are- They
that.
are refusing to
The annex.
sell any of it.
Okay, so then they'll. go
Doesn't
like
matter what
that.
the price is.
But,
Wow.
And he's building a new house. He's our
oh, that's
deputy
the new
police
house that's
chief.
going up there?
So,
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, that's Rusty's house.
So is he
Okay,
gonna end up
but
annexed
there's
to
a-
New Albany?
Mhm.
Is he gonna be in?
I guess he'll be annexed in New
Yes, but
Albany.
so that I am right, that it's
Yeah.
going to be part of New Albany.
It'll be part of New Albany, but
Yeah.
he's not selling
Intel,
that
but-
property. And
So
I
what happens to
understand
the houses on Bermuda Drive off of Miller?
they're being left. I
But what
understand.
are they
Well,
gonna
I
be?
thought they all
They're gonna be
sold.
New Albany?
No, I thought Bermuda, that housing
They
development,
didn't touch Bermuda
they
Drive.
did not touch
I don't
Bermuda
think so.
Drive or
That
on
Right there,
Beach.
yep.
On Beach, that housing development that runs off of Beach,
Mhm.
whatever it's called, that
Where's
starts
that
with
at?
an S.
Oh, on the left-hand
On
side
the
of,
right- well,
behind
left
Ruth
as you
Ann,
come in.
south of Ruth Ann and Chuck's house.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, all that's being left too.
Fitzwilliam, isn't what?
Fitzwilliam or something like, that's the
Fitzwilliam Drive.
street that's in,
This
there it
one?
is, right
Yeah,
there.
that's it.
That's all being left.
Okay.
So that's the
Bailey.
latest. That I was
Oh,
told
boy.
anyway.
So if they're in talks for these properties
Yeah.
Just sort of across the. road
and they
now.
want our water, then they need to annex into us, don't they?
Not if they're annexing in New Albany.
They can't annex into New Albany. They won't be contiguous.
They will be.
They will be eventually.
It's
Sooner or
only,
later.
it's only a matter
Yeah, but do
of
they need
time,
water first or will they be contiguous to New Albany first?
Right,
That section's not a part of the annexation agreement, though.
no, it's
No.
No.
it's outside the agreement.
But if we get our water lines down there,
We're already there.
Yeah, we're just
We're
crossing.
at
they
Duncan
don't,
Plains.
they don't like
Enterprise.
duplication of
We're at Duncan
public
Plains.
utilities.
I know, but,
Yeah, we're here at the corner.
We will be too,
and we're at the
Enterprise.
Enterprise Center, right across the street,
Mhm.
so. Anyhow.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It
You look
seems
at
like
these
they
maps and you just,
buy, then all of a sudden they annex in. I mean, that's their MO right now, so.
Where's the funding coming from?
deep pockets.
That's what I'm saying. Who?
Uh-huh.
Who is it?
I don't know who funds the New Albany company.
Well,
being passed.
Well, I think we know.
Wexner, you think it's Wexner?
I mean, there's gotta be investors, you know.
And there are
that
other
fund it,
investors.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But there are other,
Should I go on and see if there's somebody?
And
Who
we
else?
know that they're in talks with
there are other investors.
I mean-
who
Green Chapel.
Are you sure Dave's in contract?
I heard they were. I was told that both of those properties were.
Is it Tommy?
Mhm.
Oh, boy.
And he's selling.
So
I
they're,
never thought I would ever hear the day that he would do that.
they're in talks with Green Chapel as
Yeah,
well.
and I don't know the outcome, but I understand, well, I shouldn't say it. We're on.
I was gonna say, do we need to adjourn?
I'll keep my mouth.
Yes.
Please.
Anyhow.
We can do that, and then I can get out. and you guys-
Okay, I did find somebody.
Do you want to adjourn?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
we're,
yeah,
if you have
we will
any
adjourn.
other,
We'll adjourn and then we can.
Okay,
okay.
all right.
If you
At
could
this
leave the
point-
map up, that would
Leave
be.
the map.
Yeah, I
Yes.
will.
What was I gonna tell you?
Do you have
You gonna stay
anything? Are you officially adjourning?
Yeah, we're
And-
adjourned.
Okay, let me,
We will, yeah, I'll
Okay.
follow up with Jack with some of these. So at this point, we'll adjourn the February 11th Economic Development meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
I'll
make it.
second.
Can you stop
All
recording?
agree? Yes.
all right, give me just a